Learn how to build a better sign and print shop from a few crusty sign guys who've made more mistakes than they care to admit. Conversations and advice on pricing, sales, marketing, workflow, growth, and more. You're listening to the Better Sign Shop Podcast with your hosts, Peter Kourounis, Michael Riley, and Bryant Gillespie.
Before we jump into the episode, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, GCI Digital Printing, grand format printer to the trade. GCI is not your average print shop. They pride themselves on providing you a fast, stress-free experience when outsourcing. Their no excuses mindset means no matter the job, they'll have it done every time. No other vendor will go to the lengths that GCI does to ensure you're a satisfied customer. To hear more about their approach to business, hop back into the archives to episode 9, where the guys and I interview owner TJ Bedacht about top-tier customer experience. If you're looking for a high-quality trade printer for banners, mesh, coroplast, and more, TJ and his crew will have your back. For jobs big or small, GCI does them all. Check them out at printgci.com. Hi. Welcome back to another edition of the Better Sign Shop podcast. As always, well, not as always. Today I'm flying solo. Bryant here. I've got an extra special guest. Is somebody that I have looked up to for a long time in the industry. I used to read every article that the guest today published. His work has always been very inspirational for me. So really excited to chat with our guest, Mr. Dan Sawatzky of Imagination Corporation. This should be a great conversation. I hate that Peter and Michael are not here, but what to do? They're just going to miss out on the fun. So without further ado, our extra special guest, Mr. Dan Sawatzky from Imagination Corporation. All right, guys, we are joined by our extra special guest and hero of mine and Peter's, Michael. I don't know where you're at, man, but you're missing out. We've got Mr. Dan Sawatzky, legend in the sign industry. I'm super excited to have you on, Dan. I really don't think you need an introduction here, but I just wanted to say it's been very inspirational for me over the years, reading all of your magazine articles, looking at your work, studying it. So it's really a treat to have you on to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of listeners out there that know who you are, Dan, that know your work, that have seen your work. But for those of our listeners that don't, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and your background?
Okay. I've been in the sign business practically forever. I started at age 14. I lived in a very small town, and my brother entered a competition to paint windows for an event, and he won $15. This was back in the late 60s. $15 was a fortune, something that took my dad a better part of a day to earn, and we could do it in an hour. So it was like, holy cow, this is a cool business. So I was 14 years old. I got my mom's Christmas cards, and I made up a sample book, and I hitchhiked to town because I was too young to drive, and sold windows. In that first year, I made $600 after school. Well, I was still in grade 10, and it was I couldn't think of a better way to make a living than do that. So
at 14, that's amazing.
Yeah. And it pulled it off again the next year and made double that or triple that. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And then I started a sign shop still in high school, made horrible signs, and really horrible. And right from the start, I wasn't satisfied with, I did my first truck, and the second door on the truck absolutely bored me. So I was determined not to be that sign writer, but instead do creative stuff. So, MDO comes in 4x8 sheets, but you don't have to sell it that way. They make jigsaws to fix that. So we were cutting
Right.
our stuff out and layering it right from the very start. And that's all we've sold. Is I've never sold or sold very, very few ordinary signs, or that term ordinary. And I've
Yeah, I don't think
always,
I've ever seen anything that you've done that ordinary. And that's
no, I asked when I did my workshops, I asked people what percentage of your work would you be happy to see in a trade magazine or enter into a competition, and most people are happy with 2%, 5%, which boggles my mind. It's like, why can't it be 95%? Because you can't hit 100, but you can do pretty close. So
yeah.
that's what we did that from the start. And people say, "Oh, that's cool. You can say no to ordinary stuff now." But I've always said no to ordinary stuff. And you asked Dan Antonelli, what do you do if a customer comes to you with a horrible idea that his nephew drew? And my solution is try and explain that that's not going to work for them. Try and sell them something better, and if they won't go, don't do it. Walk away, because tomorrow you're known for exactly what you do today. So I don't want to be the bottom feeder. I want to be the top cutting edge.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, in high school, you started your shop. You said you made some horrible signs. Like, what was? Any of those projects stick out to you? Like, what was the horrible sign that you're like, okay, like this is not where we want to be. Like, this is actually what we want to do.
Well, everything was hand drawn in those days, and I was broke. I had no money, like every kid, and the layouts weren't that good. The brushwork was horrible. They were always done in a hurry because I was always in a hurry, and the signs reflected that. But as we try and raise the bar with every single project. So when you do that, your signs get much better in a real big hurry.
Was there any like particular project when you were first starting out that was like, okay, like we've raised the bar here, and like what that are there any that stick out to you when you first got started that were like, hey, we've taken a big leap here, and what that project was like?
Well, every single project, you become known as a creative problem solver, and so every project quickly becomes out of your reach. Every project, even to this day, we bid project not having a clue how we're going to pull it off, but we always do. We don't always make money, but we always pull it off.
Yeah. That's the curse of the sign maker, right? Yeah, we could do that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it used to be this sign shop that's where you went if you wanted something creative, if you wanted a parade float, if you wanted something unusual to make your business stand out, you go see your local sign guy. Now you go for a vinyl sign that everybody else does, which is sad.
Yeah, agreed. So like, tell us about Imagination Corporation today. Like, what does the business look like today versus back when you first started?
Imagination Corporation started out very small. It was just my wife and I. She helped out, and we would do stuff. My son Peter worked with me since he was little. Imagination Corporation, my journey has been very in a big circle. I started out doing window splashes, went to fine art. My work was in 40 galleries and stuff. From there, I went in, always doing signs on the side at least, and then went into historical murals. I've done 125 all across Canada and U.S. And then I discovered, as my quest to do wilder things, the theme park industry has been a huge part of our repertoire, and the tourism industry, because you can sell more creative work there. Most often, I haven't sold work in my own town. People say to me, "Oh, I could never sell work like you make in my town." Well, I can. And why do they bypass you to phone me and I'm 1,000 miles away? Is because that's what I'm known for. And I think more people could do the creative stuff if they just put their heart into it. Start with your own sign. Every sign shop should have an award-winning sign out front. The best they can do, even if it takes them 5 years to make it in their spare time. There's no reason why you shouldn't have that kind of sign. And if you walk the walk yourself, people want to buy into that success. And how do they do it? Is they buy your work. So, and then promote it on the internet. I think it's easier than it ever used to be. Before, people could only find me in the phone book or if they happen to drive by a sign. Now they type in creative sign and chances are mine will pop up, or dimensional sign, no matter where you are. So it's, again,
with the internet, it's become easier to share your work, certainly.
I believe so. I mean, in 2008, when the 2009, the big downturn, it affected us too. And there was many weeks I went out to the shop and there was literally no work. So what do? Build a sample, build your own sign. And that year I committed to doing 12 major samples, which are still hanging on my wall, with the intent of when things improve, I'll have the samples to sell work. Because how do I describe what I do? Like, it's impossible to describe what I do.
Right.
I got to show people. Yeah,
exactly.
I got to show people what I do. So those samples, I mean, I sent them into competitions. I sent them to Signcraft. You probably read articles on them.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the work that is featured in the magazines is stuff that we've done as samples.
Or even just the pieces that you were doing on your own home on like your CNC router were like mind blowing for me.
Yeah, again, our sign shop is in our backyard. I've always worked from home. That's a conscious choice I made before our kids even came along, and it's been a great choice. So I'm in a residential area. I have residential zoning. And so the city says I can only put a very small sign up front, but it doesn't. The city didn't tell me what kind of house I can build. So I mean, people screech to a stop in front of my house. And they're out there taking pictures, and then they see my little sign, and you see them whip out their phone and Google my name, and boom, they know they know who I am, they know what I do, they know where I've done my work.
How tremendous is that? That's the definition in my book of living outside the box.
Yeah, I mean,
if I could put a title, I mean, you probably have a different one, but when the good Lord above calls your name, I would put on your tombstone that quote: "Living outside the box was a lifestyle." To me, that's exactly what I've learned from you over the years, is how to look at things differently.
Exactly.
Not necessarily in 2D, not necessarily even 3D nowadays. Like we're looking at things differently each and every day, but you had this vision so beyond the typical sign shop owner. I would probably go as far as to say you're not even a sign shop anymore. I don't think you ever have been.
I still consider myself a sign shop, but not an ordinary sign. And it's
interesting.
I don't believe I can sell my work either. In terms of if I don't do cold calls. I've tried in the past, they don't work for me. Because I can't sell you something unless you want it. And most people, they're thinking of an ordinary sign for a set amount of dollars. Where I showcase my work and people drive up my driveway regularly. In fact, on weekends, I have to keep my gates closed or my yard is full of people. And if 100 people drive up my driveway, 90 of them will go away with nothing. I'll send them away. They'll look and it's like, oh, that's kind of out there, or it's, and they know it's not Walmart. It's not going to be cheap. Everything is custom, and everything is obviously expensive. So 90% will price themselves off my yard immediately. And then 10 of those people I'll talk to in depth. You maybe give me a little tour of the shop, my studio. 4 of those will go to design. 1 will build.
Wow.
1 will build. And we actually qualify our customers with 5 questions. Everyone who gets into that small 10 or 4%, we actually have a test for them. They don't know they're being tested, but I'm interviewing. Sit down in my studio and let's have a chat. It's the same way I test employees. They don't know they're running a test, but everything's a test. And so in my mind, I'm asking 5 questions, and I'll interview the customer or prospective customer. Preferably, my son and I do it together, and then we send them away and say, we'll call you in a few days and let you know if you are a
Wow.
customer.
I love that you guys are like totally
Wow.
flipping this script on
Yeah,
people.
and the 5 questions are, and the customer doesn't know what the questions are. This is questions we ask inside the studio.
Wait, are they the same 5 questions?
Yes, they are.
Would
5
you like to share
questions.
them with us here
Yes,
today?
sure. I'd love to. First question is, will it be fun? Will it make me
Will it
laugh?
be fun?
Will it be fun? Life is too short to not have fun. So the job
Wait,
has
is
to
that
be.
2 questions? Will it be fun and will it make you laugh? Is that the
No, it's
second
the
question
same
or
question. Same question.
same question? Okay.
Okay.
Is it going to be fun for us and our staff? Are we going to love this job? Next question is, do we have creative control? If the customer is going to tell me how to do the job, they're not my customer. It doesn't mean I ignore my customer. It means that I have creative control. You've come to me as an expert. Please trust me. If you don't trust me, you're not my customer. Go away. So if you bring me nephew art and you insist on your nephew art, thank you so much for coming in. I'll see you around. And you have to be that brutal. Because if you put out a piece of crap, that's what you're known for immediately.
Yeah, you don't want to slap your name on it.
Yeah. Third question, do we have time? I mean, right now we're booked into 2024 and pushing into 2025. So if you're not willing, if you come to me as a customer and you need a sign next week, thank you so much for coming in, but you're not my customer. Please come when you have more time and I have more time. Because I don't work overtime in my shop and neither do my staff. So your time crunch is not my problem. That's your problem. Go get a temporary sign, pay a deposit, and get on my list. Because that's the only way to get on my list is a sizable deposit.
Nice. And you guys are booking into 2025 already.
Yeah. We're not full in
Amazing.
2024, but some projects are already going into 2025, and we're designing into 2026.
Wow. Amazing. All right.
So
What's the next question?
Fourth question, is the project good for us? Will it raise our bar? Will it improve our reputation? Because we know it's good for the customer. It's going to bring him a ton of business. He'll make hopefully a ton of money based on the sign we do for him. But is the project good for us? Does it take us in a direction we want to go?
And do you physically ask them that question, or
No,
like you
no,
just
these are questions based on our interview.
Internally.
I'll beat around that, but internally, Pete, this
Gotcha.
is questions Pete and I ask each other.
Gotcha.
And the last question we ask is there enough money? Because we know we're going to change things as the sign goes through. We know that we're going to make mistakes or things are going to go wrong or it's going to take longer than we think. It always does, especially in a complex project. So that has to be built in from the start because a quote's a quote and we never increase our price.
Wow.
Okay, so I have 2 follow-up questions to that. The first one is, ever since you put that policy in place, those 5 questions, the first question is, have you ever deviated from those answers?
Yes, and we regret it every single time.
Yes, and you've regretted it every single time. Okay, so as a follow-up to that, I would like to hear about why that has bothered you. Like, what was it? Is it the interaction with the customer? Did it not meet those qualifications?
Either I didn't make money or because I wanted the job too bad and I bid it too low, or it won't satisfy me and I knew I could have done better and that drives me nuts.
And you thought you could have did better and that drives you nuts.
Was it just like a lowlier project, or was it just like the client's kind of demands?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of the sales or first initiation, and we ask these questions, and then we'll do a run at the design, or I do a run at the design with Peter looking over my shoulder or my daughter Beck looking over my shoulder, and they go, "Oh, that's cute, Dad, but what if we did this?" And it becomes that much crazier. And then the question we ask ourselves is, are we willing to risk the job to do that kind of work? And if the answer is yes, then we don't even pitch the lesser design. We only pitch the cool one. Because most times we go into a job, there is no budget. if a customer's concerned about money, there's not enough money. He's better off to go get a plain sign somewhere.
Okay, so this is my second question. You mentioned your son. I would assume your son is a partner in this business with you?
He's the majority owner now.
He's the majority owner now. Wow, good for him.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna have to
Yeah,
have
I
him
think
on here
well,
soon.
he's sitting right beside me here. Yeah,
He's
I own
sitting right beside you
I own
there?
0.5%.
You own a 0.5% in the business?
Yeah.
Why only a half? Okay, I have so many questions,
Yes,
but let me ask you my.
I'm 69 years old. I don't need to own it.
Ah, gotcha.
And besides, he's better than I am at everything. I mean, I
love
trained
that.
him. I mean, how often do you get to train your boss when you're little? And if he's not good, it's my fault. I screwed up.
Okay.
That's
Has there
the
ever been a
ultimate
time-
ownership mentality right there.
Has there ever been a time where you and Pete saw a project differently and had a difference of opinion?
Every single time.
I mean, how do you come to a resolution?
He's the owner. I can defer to him.
Okay, so it's just the amount of equity. Like there's no
ego.
creative there.
Oh, no, I mean, we argue, and sometimes I say, look, at the customer won't, like we just did a design for a mini golf that was, the owner wanted a logging theme, and Peter pitched robot dinosaur logging theme, which was very cool. And so I pitched, I said, the customer's not going to go there. I don't think so. But I did the drawing anyhow. We did a concept drawing for both versions, and the owner sadly didn't take it, which happens. I mean, I've got books full of designs that have not yet sold. And the keyword is not yet.
Not
Because
yet.
we can repitch it.
Just in a different application, different type of idea.
Yeah, there'll be a customer that is braver.
So what do you call that? You call that your secret stash?
Yeah, we got. There's a lot of secret staff. The walls are full of those secret staff.
The dream stash? The imagination station?
I mean, I'll never get to build all the crazy ideas in my head, and nor will Peter. But we build a lot of them.
Yeah, you guys have gotten your fair share. I will say that it's amazing. Hey, so do you do the concept drawings before they do a deposit, or like, hey, we think this could be a fit, and like, hey, you got to put it down on the deposit before we even do the
No,
drawings.
we'll do a teaser, but I explained to the customer that an idea like design work needs to be paid for before I do it, because once I show you something, I can't take it back. And then that being said, I'll do you a teaser with the understanding that you don't own this drawing, it's mine. If you want it, you have to pay for it.
Gotcha.
And then one drawing, I mean, most times our design contracts are in the tens of thousands of dollars. So they'll get one free low-res drawing, and then once they pay for design, they'll get their 15 or 20 that's part of the package.
Gotcha. It's such a totally different process than like the average sign shop, which is why I was so excited for this conversation, because like you take the average model and like totally flip it on its head.
Yeah, I mean, if you come to me and say I want a house number for my house, sorry, we just it's a small job for us is just like 10 grand. So if you want to pay 10 grand for a house number, that's fine, but nobody does, because that's silly. But if you want us to design your house and do all the fancy, crazy, and a house number is part of it, and there's a package that's 50,000, let's talk. It's cool. And the house number won't come in at 10,000; it'll come in at $1,000 as part of a bigger package.
Yeah. So, like, what type of projects are you guys doing most now? Is it still like theme parks and like
theme
tourism
parks
stuff?
Theme parks are a big part of it. And I was a keynote speaker at a theme park convention 5 years ago, and this was in Florida. There was 40,000 people at that convention. It was big, and in the audience was a farmer, and he said, "Come to my farm." And I went, "Okay, cool. Come to your farm. Here's my fee." And he said, "Fine. You need to book 3 days plus travel time, so it was 5 days." in Nebraska. Turns out this farm sees upwards of they're going to hit 500,000 guests pretty quick in 6 weeks on an annual basis. And now we do a semi-load of signs for them every year.
Oh, wow.
And that farm the farm business is a cool business, and they share. I just spoke at another conference, the tourism farm conference in the spring, and we now have, I think, 15 farms that we're doing design work for.
Wow. And is it just like a tourism farm? Like people come in to
pumpkin farms, you know.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, makes sense.
And the apple cideries and all that kind of stuff.
So. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, like corn mazes and pumpkin patches. And, okay.
I mean, that's a business I didn't know existed 5 years ago.
Yeah. Those are increasingly popular in my area, in the backwoods of West Virginia. So I can imagine, outside of a major market, it would be a very sizable business.
Yeah. So, and then the theme park industry and then tourism industry is big for us too. You know, resorts and things. So,
yeah. When you weren't quite as well known as you are now, what was different? I guess, did you have these questions initially, or this is like the model that you've crafted over the lifetime in the industry?
When I started doing workshops, I put those, articulated those questions. We've always done that, but not in a formal sense, or what are the questions, but we've always had that sort of that test. Yeah, I mean, it goes back to when I did murals. How do you become famous for murals? I was asked to do murals in a small town on Vancouver Island in British Columbia here. And so we went there, painted a mural, and again, a light went on. It's a matter of looking and seeing what's available in terms of opportunity. And I said, people are going to come to this town because of the murals. It's a good town to do art. And so a year later, we moved there, and the tourism went from 0 to 400,000 people every year, and very, very quickly. And the first question they had, because there was 30 murals through town, which I did 7, is who did the murals, and can I talk to them? Because people from West Virginia want to come, drop in and say, hey, this would go good in my town. So who do we talk to? And they would end up on my doorstep. And I would take the time to give them a tour of the town, and they went, hey, would you want to come to our town and sell this idea? And it's sure. So 2 weeks later, I'd be on a plane to West Virginia, and I'd talk to their Rotary Club, and they'd host a thing, and I'd say, hey, let me do up some artwork for you. And then if you do a limited print of this, you can sell them and pay for the mural. And so a month later, they'd have limited print, and I'd be in their town doing the first historical mural in their town. And that would turn into 3 or 4 murals because they know who I am. And then,
amazing.
So now I'm known in West Virginia. People go there and say, who did that? Well, there's a guy in British Columbia. So, I mean, in 10 years, I did 125 murals. It's
just exploded. Yeah. That makes so much sense, because you're helping them almost finance in a way. Hey, absolutely. Here's the artwork. Go. Here's what to do. Here's my fee. I'm not going to discount it. I'm worth this. It's going to bring 10 times that to you guys in tourism. Here's a way to pay for this without you guys being out of pocket for it.
I mean, to be successful is not hard. You just got to wear out lots of running shoes and run like crazy. I mean, I did it in fine art. I did it in murals. Now we're doing it in theme park signs and dimensional signage. And we're doing it in the Hazelnut Inn. That's my son's project next door. It can be done in anything. You just got to do it better than anybody else and put in the time.
What's the Hazelnut Inn? Like a bed and breakfast?
On steroids.
On steroids.
I mean, it started, my son and his wife, when they got married 8 years ago or 9 years ago or something, they wanted to stay in a castle. So they had to go to Europe. On the plane home, they went, we can build a castle.
What?
So So a year later, they went down to Hobbiton in New Zealand, and Hobbiton is a movie set. There's nothing there, but everybody wants to stay in a Hobbit hole.
Yeah.
So we can build a Hobbit hole. We call it the Underhill. And then there's a third suite. So, okay, well, now let's build this thing. And it's being built. We get frustrated by customers that will go 70, 80% of the way, which is still a long ways. And so every few years we take on a project, i.e. our house. I built a mini golf back in 2000, and now we're building the inn, which we call our stupid project. There is no budget. There's no limit to creativity. It's going to be off the wall. And so if you go to hazelnutinn.com and you look at this thing, imagine our utmost creativity for 5 years, and it's not finished yet because we squeeze it in between our other jobs. There's 4,000 people signed up ready to book a room. And we don't know when it's going to open. We don't know how much it's going to cost yet, but it won't be cheap. And you don't need to be. And what does that project do is that has already been featured in magazine. It's already won awards. And it's not finished. So it raises our bar exponentially.
Right. Yeah. And it's your own project.
It's a showcase. I mean, I've seen up to 5, and it's right next door to our house. So when people stop, they just go Googa and stupid in front of our place and take all these pictures and they post them to their Facebook page. And what are they doing? They're advertising us.
Do you take pictures of them with their jaws just wide open?
Yeah.
To me, that would be interesting. Just to come out and see like a line of cars in your driveway, people with their mouths hanging up and taking pictures of all that.
Yeah, I mean, and we're in a dinky little town. We're only 3,500 people live in this town.
Yeah, and that was one of the talking points that we had, right? So, how much does location matter for your success?
Location is absolutely critical and not at all necessary. Now, we are on a road that goes up to a lake that sees 1 million visitors a year. So that's intentional. But at the same token, I don't necessarily sell signs to those people. But they know the people I sell signs to. So I mean, people say, oh, I live in West Virginia. I could never sell your kind of work. Silly you. Yes, you could. Number one is build a web page that showcases what you can do. It can be samples. It can be drawings. It doesn't have to be 100 pages. It's only 5 of your best ones. And that's what you become known for. Because nowadays if you go out for dinner, you Google it, right? Where do you want to go? Yep. I don't know. And you type in something and it pops up. So you just got to be so good that it comes up. I mean, I do a blog every single day. And I view that as a very critical part of our advertising. We get 20,000 hits a month. Now, wow. I'm only looking for one customer. I'm only looking for one. So your odds go up.
Certainly.
And then you can ask your 5 questions and pare that $20,000 people down to the job you want.
Yeah. How many contact you in like the course of a week?
A lot. I mean, it's and we don't chase. I mean, I was just at a conference and a customer comes up to me and, oh, can you, here's my card. Can you follow up? I said, no, I won't follow up. Here's my card. If you're interested, call me. Because I only have so much time. I don't chase work. You can't push, Peter says, you can't push a rope. They have to beg me to do work and they have to answer 5 yeses without knowing it.
Yeah. Is like, do you have like, have you like developed like this radar for like kicking out people that are going to waste your time in the process?
Well, everybody talks big.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, especially with like the work that you do, I can imagine there would be a lot of people that are like, hey, we want to do this and we want to do that. And we think you could do it really well. And then, like.
Yeah. I mean, I was at a farm last week and I met those people at the conference and it's called, okay, for me to come visit is going to be for 3 days is going to be $5,000 plus expenses, and then the drawings are basically $1,000 a sheet for a concept drawing. A concept drawing looks like that.
Right.
So that's $1,000, and I can do 3 of those in a day, which customer doesn't need to know. But and the design package has to be paid for in advance. So I got a check from this customer for $20,000. So that
Wow.
weeds out all the people who are the wannabes in a hurry. You know, you got to want me. You got to have a vision. You got to, trust me.
And
All
yeah,
those things.
you got to like buy into the process wholeheartedly. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just not a good fit. Yeah.
And then, that customer, and they get to talk and say, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but understand if you want me or if you want a piece for next year, you have to book by January or you're not going to get it. And I might be sold out by January. I don't know. That's next year.
Yeah. So what's like the average scope of a project? Like, where do you guys usually come in on like, if we take like a mini golf
A mini
setup
golf would come in at $1 million, of which our budget is at least half. I mean, we just did one that came in at 900.
Yeah, but are they approaching you at like the very formation of it? Like, hey, we know we're going to
Yes.
do a mini golf. It's going to
No,
be north
you
of
have to
Myrtle
trust.
Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you have to trust me. I don't want to do a jungle mini golf. I don't want to do a pirate mini golf. I don't want to, all the common ones
Mhm.
go away. Not interested. You got to
Gotcha.
be out there and creative.
But from the very inception, like they're coming to you and saying, hey, we want to do a mini golf. We want you to do it. It's going to be here.
They've seen my work. I'm not Walmart. If you're trying to save money, don't do the job or hire someone else. You're not going to save money with me. I'm going to deliver good value, but I'm not a bargain in terms of price alone. If price is your concern, I'm not your guy.
Yeah, I just trying to understand like the scope of everything that you guys do, like what's involved in a project for you guys.
Typically there's a preliminary design first, where I showed it at one drawing.
Yeah, like the concept.
If people are under it or on it, it needs engineering, which it's going to add. It can add significantly to the price, which we get. I do the design, hand it to my engineer stamps it and brings back, and that's required for building permits and stuff typically. And
Right.
then it goes into this studio for fabrication. We've got a very talented team, and we've got a structural welder. We've got there's 4 of us weld, and a lot of it is pure grunt work. It's hard work. You're tying lath, you're bending steel, you're troweling cement, you're carving it, and then the paint. So
Yeah, I can just imagine like start to finish. Like, how many hours do you guys invest in like a mini golf?
well, typically, if we got 12 months of the year, we're going to do 1, possibly 2 major projects.
Okay.
And then a few minor ones where, a farm wants 2 signs or 1 entrance or something. And we can do, 3 or 4 of those. So, and that'll fill a year.
Yeah.
I mean, our projects, Signs of Time just asked me for some articles or some pieces for the contest this year. And I said, I don't have anything to give you this year because our projects started before last year's contest started, and we haven't finished them yet. They're not installed.
Right. And it's just like the stuff that you guys do is so immersive,
Yeah.
And I think that's why Pete was like, you guys are not even a sign shop. Like you guys build experiences. Mostly
well, what's a
like
sign?
how I would, yeah.
A sign is most people define a sign as a flat board with letters on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a sign. That I don't know what that is. A sign to me is anything that draws attention to my customer's product, service, or business. That can include the building, the landscaping, the features. Why can't it be a 30-foot dinosaur? Why, or a robot that's 30 feet high? Or, I mean, we just did that project for South Dakota, the big robot. And I said, okay, what is your objective here? And he says, well, we have a busy road by our place. I want to stop traffic. He said, okay, that's not a cheap project, but yes, I can do it. And we have a standard in our shop. and the standard is this, and it's too easy now because everybody carries a camera on their phone. But back in the 80s, it was the same standard then. It's called, if someone isn't taking a picture or the newspaper isn't out front before I finished installing, I have failed miserably. And I never fail.
That's a high standard. I
That's all
I
I
can tell
wanna
you,
do.
like I've only hit that standard a couple times with the signs
Yeah,
that I've done.
why not every project?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, imagine how fun that is.
And that's a conversation I've had with Mike, and that's why I hate that he's not on this one. Of like, that's why he got into the sign industry, like to have fun and make these like creative signs. And I feel like that's why a lot of people get into the industry.
Of course
And
they
then
do. That's what
it just goes south somewhere, or like we just fall into a rut.
money.
Do you have it? Yeah, it could be. Do you have any advice for somebody like that? Of like, hey, like I used to have this desire to do these super creative signs, and now I'm like, I'm in this rut of like, hey, we're not doing that work that I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
Like,
First, my advice is, what does your sign look like? Is it the best sign in town? Will it win an award? If it isn't, shame on you. Time to start your new project and build your business. Because I mean, I've had hundreds
that's
of
a
people.
good point.
I've had hundreds of people take my workshop, and
Mhm.
most of them, or many of them, are people who are exactly you described. They this is what they want to do, but business has dragged them way off this horrible path. And why? It's because well, you buy a new piece of equipment and the payments are $1,500 a month, so you got to make that payment. You know, and my yeah, I mean, I understand all that stuff, but it's different. You got to think differently. I mean, when we bought our CNC router, I actually won a competition. I went down to a sign show. It was either Florida or LA. I can't remember. Big ASA show, ISA, and getting the prize was anticlimactic because it's called, here you go, and that was it. It was just okay. I mean, first place in Signs of the Times magazine doesn't buy you a cup of coffee,
Oh, yeah, right.
and it doesn't make you a better person. So you got to get over that. But it is important because number one, I mean, we're going to go around the circle a little bit here.
That's fun.
In 1981, I picked up a sign magazine, and it was Signs of the Times annual competition issue. I still got it on my shelf. It's dog-eared, and I said, someday I will be good enough to be there. That was a promise to myself. I never worked up the courage to enter for, I don't know, 15 years. I should have, but I didn't. So my advice to people is do one sign this year that is good enough to enter a competition as a sample, and then enter it. And if you win, cool. If you don't, well, now you know where the standard is. You got to do better next year. But then hang that sample on your wall, and that becomes a sales tool. Next year, do a better sample. And next year, do a better sample. And it's if you want to do what I do, it's between a 3 and 5 year journey to do it full time. If you're, and then raise your prices by 20% overall, everything, and scare all your bad customers away.
That's just good advice.
And then that 20% you scare away will give you time to work more samples, and you're on your way to becoming what I am. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Walk the walk. Be that guy. I mean, if you raise your prices, I talked to a guy in Alaska, and he took my workshop eventually. I went and visited him because I was bidding a cruise ship at that time. We went into a shop, and he's in Alaska in a town. There's no road into this town. You can only go there by boat or plane. So he's the only sign shop in town. And I said, tell me what's wrong with your business. And he goes, I'm working endless hours. He says, I'm not doing enough creative work, and I'm not making money. Well, that's simple. Raise your prices 20%. And he goes, I'll lose 20% of my business. I said, yes, you will. Absolutely. Because it'll be cheap. It'll be expensive enough that people can go to another town and ship their sign in and replace you. Okay. But those 20% you don't care about anyhow. They're not creative work. Because if you're doing creative work, you're the guy they got to go to. And I said, if you raise your price 20%, you're now making 30% more than you were before because there's no cost attached to that. That's pure profit.
Right.
So now you have, and you're not working overtime anymore. So, and then set a project. When I do my samples, I set it just outside my studio door as I go into my workshop. And everybody in the world I know wastes 10 minutes a day. And that's a very, very conservative estimate. Don't watch a CAD video and go work on your sample for 5 minutes every day.
Yeah. So
and in a month, you'll
put
have
it front and center.
Yep.
Like where you can't miss it.
And when you get a real crap job that sucks your soul, reward yourself with half an hour on your project.
I love this, man. Like it's just like no BS. Like, hey, like just do it.
And anything less than that is just an excuse. You don't want to do it. I mean, if 20 people took my workshop, everybody was going, oh yes, this is cool. But half of them will never do anything I say. The other half will do it for a week, and then they'll fall off the wayside. And you get down to 2 will actually listen to me. And in 2 years, I guarantee they're doing better work. Way better work.
Do you stay in touch with the people? Like, are you still doing your workshops, or
I've
like
quit
you stopped?
Quit now because of
gotcha.
It's that was my passion. It's not my boss's passion.
Gotcha. Okay. But do you stay in touch with a lot of the sign makers that have taken
I bump
workshops
into them
in the
at
past?
shows and stuff, or they send me pictures. I mean, it's very gratifying to see someone send you a picture and say, hey, look what I'm doing now. And I helped change the industry in a small way.
I would say not in a small way.
Well, I mean, but I've influenced people. I hopefully have influenced people. I mean, I love poking people. I mean, if I met you at a show and you were saying, oh, I'd like to, I'd say, that's an excuse. I'll poke you right between the eyes and say, smarten up. Don't give me crap. I don't have time. Hey, you think I'm not busy? How is my life different? If people say, oh, you're lucky you're born under a shining sun. Hey, I just had not heart issues. I just had an open heart surgery. My life is no different. People die around me. My life is busy. Business goes south occasion. I make horrible mistakes that cost me thousands of dollars. I mean, my life is no different than anybody else's. I'm still a very lucky guy because I've got family supporting me, and I've got the most awesome boss in the world. And life is good. I mean, I'm 69 years old. I've been in this business 55 years. I have no intention of retiring because if I retire, what am I going to do? I'm going to come up in the shop and have fun. Well, I started doing that full time at age 23. So I guess that's when I retired.
It's all in the mindset. I love that. Before we close this out, do you mind if we touch on like the family business thing? Just
sure.
a little bit?
Yeah.
So when did your son like take over as majority owner? Just curious.
That would be 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And it required a huge mindset change on my part. Right down to, just check your ego, dude. You're not in charge anymore.
That's what I'm most curious about is like the transition.
What happened is Peter worked with me for 14 years, and then he went away for 14 years. He said, I need to be Peter for a while, not Dan's son. I'm like, cool. And he became an animator. He got his teaching degree in mathematics. He's a smart guy. And then he came back to help us build our house 10 years ago. And I said, I want to make, and he taught for 6 months and it wasn't what he thought. So I said, I want to make a deal you can't refuse. Is if you want to come back, I'll bonus you enough money that you can buy the business because I don't need money. So it was a 5-year plan, or that's what we talked about. So then we went to see the accountant and he said, explain to me what happens if Peter comes back. And I said, well, the business will go from doing 350 to over $1 million a year instantly like that. And he said, you tell me you're not in it for the money. If that's the case, don't make a deal in 5 years because you'll pay too much tax and Peter will pay too much for the business. Do it today. Because this was 2 weeks before the end of the year.
I get you.
So we wrote up an agreement in the next 2 weeks. And when January 1st came along, I was no longer a majority owner of the business. I owned 0.5%.
Wow.
The next Saturday, I was in town driving to town doing some errands, and I went, I just stole the truck. I didn't ask Peter if I could drive it. And it was like, in my head, it's like, you're not in charge anymore. You can't do this. So I told my wife, and she said, because I hadn't owned a vehicle personally in 30 years.
Wow.
Right.
And she
Shop
said,
truck.
do you want a vehicle? And I went, yeah, I think I'd like a vehicle. And she says, what do you want? And I said, I want a yellow Jeep, because I had one when I was a kid. And she says, why a yellow Jeep? And I said, well, so I can take the top off and I can feel the wind in my hair. And she says, you better hurry. So I drive a yellow Jeep.
There you go. So was there like was Peter always interested in running the business? Yeah, like
he's not in love with running the business as much as I was running the business, but the dude is talented. And he humbly says, well, I'm standing on your shoulders. That's why. He says, everything I do, I learn from you. And so he's taken it to the next level.
And would you attribute that to like the first question, like your first principle, like, hey, is this going to be fun? Or is it like something else? Because I talk to a lot of owners that are in this similar position where, like, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. I'm retirement age, and like I want to hand this down. I would love to hand it down to family, but family may not be interested, or
and it's important that you don't hand it to someone that doesn't want it. Like Peter has to be Peter, but Peter is better at the business than I am. I mean, much better. And much better businessman. I mean, we were doing a job in Trinidad, or bidding a job in Trinidad, just when he came on. And this was like 14 shipping container, 40-foot shipping containers full of signs and features. And he says, do you mind if I review the bid? And I said, no, please do. And he said, are you happy with the prices? I said, yeah, no, I'm happy with the prices. So he goes through and he comes to me and he says, there's nothing in here for the skids. How you getting me in the container? Well, we just take our tractor and push them in. No, he says, the way we ship is we build our features on a pallet, custom-made steel pallet that barely fits in the container and it slides in. We still do that way. Sure. He says, how much does it cost to build one of those pallets? And I went, well, I don't know, it's part of the feature. And he says, no, how much does it cost? And the number we came up with once we started doing some math, because Peter is a mathematician, for 8 feet of pallet costs $500.
Wow. Yeah. So it's not insignificant.
No. And he said, plus you have to, how long does it take? And I said, well, you just push it in. No, he says, you got a guy guiding it, another guy pushing it, and you've got, we handle it in our shop. We got to take the wheels off, and so we put a number to it. And then he came up with a price of per foot. And it got to be, when we did the math, it was $90,000
to do all
that
the
I
pallets.
hadn't put in the bid.
Wow.
And then he says, okay, what about in Trinidad? You got to get those things back out. And I said, well, they're flying into Trinidad and I'm there. Yeah, but he says, when you're there, it's called, what color do we paint this? How do we do this? Where's the landscaping? He says, you're running around doing all that stuff. He says, we're going to double that bid for getting the stuff out of the container too. So it was $180,000 that I had left on the table. The customer never blinked.
Right.
That's Peter. He's a smart guy. So he when we go through our bids, we have the formula, because people say, how do you cost your stuff? It's like it boils down to what is your shop rate, which is a very, very important number, and then how long it's going to take, and then put a buffer in there, and then mark up your materials and all that usual. I've done articles and stuff in Suncraft, so it all has to be factored in, and so and it boils down to, and most sign shop owners forget about this, is number one is, what do you think you're worth? How much do you want to make in a year as owner? So you put that number. Now that number is sacred, because anything that cuts into that number comes out of your pocket. So if you have to buy a new computer next year, the company has got to have enough money to buy that computer, or it comes out of your pocket.
Yep.
If you need a new car, new software, or new blah 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 blah, that all, and then your employees too, because everyone else gets paid before you do. So those are all important. As you calculate your shop rate and what is stuff worth, and all that stuff.
It's so good to hear you say that. Like, that's like the method that we practice and teach, and it's not different than any, like, it shouldn't be any different for anybody else out there, which is nice. Like,
yeah, and
like
yet,
even at the level of the game that you're at, like,
yeah, because typical
you still
sign
price
pricing
it
software doesn't work with us. It's but we have a spreadsheet that we go through, and then there's a fudge factor into that, saying again, it goes back to your 5 questions, because stuff is always going to go wrong. It's always going to, what happens if we make it 2 feet taller because it needs to be? Does the customer have to pay for that? The answer is yes, but up front, not after the fact.
I want to hear more about the inner workings of what you and Pete have there. You just mentioned that a typical sign shop software doesn't work for your shop, that you're using a spreadsheet of some sort. Talk to me about some of the tech stack that you use to make the Imagination Station work, your dream team work. Tell me about it.
Well, number one is we try and pay our help better than the industry by far, because they're that creative and they're valuable. A lot of people say, "Oh, staff is nothing but a cost." Staff is your most valuable asset. I mean, I get to sign the jobs and I get all the credit, but I don't do the work. There's pieces that I don't even touch that come into our shop that have my signature on them. So number one is the value of those guys is incredible. Secondly is have the best equipment. A shop router is cool, but a multicam will do it better and faster. But you got to price accordingly. And technology has screwed up the industry too. One of the examples I give is let's say Peter does signs and you carve them by hand, and you, Brian, you have a ShopBot, which is a great machine, and I got a multicam, which does stuff 3 times as fast. So Peter sells a sign for pick a number for $5,000, and he puts the whole week into that job. You can do the job in half the time because you've got a nice little computer to help you. And if you charge the same shop rate, you're selling the sign for $2,500. And my machine is twice as fast again. So if I sell the same shop rate, suddenly I'm selling that sign for $1,250. That's what's wrong with the sign industry.
It's all driven by like the equipment.
It's by stupid thinking.
Yeah.
That says a shop rate is not a shop rate. Is the way I look at it is, if it takes me, I figure my CNC router can carve a sign 5 times as fast as I can carve a sign by hand, and I'm fast. So if I charge $200 an hour, which is not unreasonable in this time as a shop rate, that sign should be worth $1,000 an hour on the machine, which is not unreasonable because it's a $100,000 machine.
Right.
And you should be charging that kind of money. And the customer doesn't need to know if I carved it by hand or did it on the machine.
Right. That's what I was. That's the
because my machine's
that's the
in the
point
back.
that I want to make. Right.
Customer doesn't do it, and I purposely make my signs on the machine look like they were done by hand. We introduce texture and do a little bit of handwork after it, hand paint them so that it is a handcrafted sign that I cheated like crazy. But to me, it's having a machine in the back is no different than having employees help me.
But it doesn't. Yeah, that's what I was say. It doesn't make the sign any less valuable to the customer.
Not at all. In fact, it should make it better.
Right.
You know, and same thing. Like we use a 30-pound precision board, and in the industry, especially 10 years ago, that was unheard of. Everyone used 15-pound or 18-pound.
Yep.
And people say, well, 30-pound is twice the money. To buy it. Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree with that. But it adds 3 times the value. Because, I mean, people say, well, how do you sell your expensive work? And it's simple. I said, I have a piece of 15-pound in my shop, which I can take and run my fingernail into in front of my customer. I don't tell them my fingernails are as tough as a screwdriver, but I run my finger and make a horrible scratch in it. And then I hand my customer a piece of 30-pound little sample, and he can't touch it. He says, will you pay $100 for that? And he went, absolutely. Well, guess what? I just made money. And I'm selling a better product. And I'm setting myself apart from my competition.
Yeah. It's never about price at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
You know, and in these days of hyperinflation, I mean, I had a customer come to me. I bid a job last year. They didn't do it. They came back this year and they say, we're expecting an increase, but can you do the job this year? Yes, it's 20% more. And they went, okay.
Right.
Don't apologize for anything. Be proud of what you do.
Like, absolutely. Yeah. If that's the message that everybody takes away from this, 100%.
You know,
as we transition into a close, we always ask everybody this, but what's the future for you, for Imagination Corporation?
Straight up. It's
straight.
I'm more encouraged than ever. You know, as I go through Signcraft or the competition magazine, the article or issues of the magazines, I think the quality is improving in general. There's still lots of crap out there, but I don't have competition. I'm not worried about them. I want to raise the industry, because the more I raise the industry, the better it is for me. I'm encouraged. Sign materials are better than they've ever been in terms of durability and, you know, all that stuff. The internet has allowed us to market worldwide. There's no limit.
Great answer. Like personally for you, Dan, like what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as a fun guy who inspired people. Hopefully I'm remembered for cool work, but it won't last forever. But and I want to be a family guy. I want to be the best grandpa in the world. And I think we're doing pretty good in that regard. So,
how many grandkids do you have?
I have 3. The youngest one will probably be the guy who takes over the business. He's 5 years old. Henry, we built a little wooden dinosaur a few months ago, and he had fun. We did it in our shop. He cut it out with a jigsaw. He's 5 years old. And we screwed it together. And when we were finished, he looked at me and he said, Grandpa, he says, this is pretty cool, but I think we can do better. I said, so what do you want? He says, I want a dinosaur that I can get in and drive. It has to have a motor, you know. And so we built one for the parade on a golf cart. You know, that's the guy, you know, he's going to stand on his dad's shoulders, who's standing on my shoulders. Imagine where we're going to do then. I mean, this is a kid who grew up, can build a 50-foot dinosaur in his sleep.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
So, you know, am I excited about the future? Absolutely. And I won't be able to keep up to those guys.
Yeah, how could you? At 5, he's like, hey, this is good, Grandpa, but what if we do this?
I mean, at 2, he would come to me every day. Am I big? I said, oh, yeah, you've definitely grown since last night. You know, and we'd measure him and he'd be all excited. So can I learn to weld today? Not yet, but soon.
That's great. That's great.
You know, I didn't learn to weld till I was in my 20s.
Yeah, and he's ready. He's ready now. That's great. Well, Dan, man, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been, Like when we first started the podcast, I was making the short list of folks that I wanted to talk to. You were definitely right up there at the top. So I appreciate you coming on. Been a big inspiration for me.
Yeah, keep interviewing the best of the best. I mean, we're all saying the same thing: is reach for the stars, don't do crap. Dan Antonelli's is design like your life depends on it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing how different business models can be, but the core values remain the same.
Yeah, Dan and I do very different stuff, but Dan's been a hero of mine forever. I mean, Shane Durnford, hero forever. Tom McEltrott. These guys are all excellence beyond excellence.
Okay. Love it. Anything we can promote for you, or obviously, I think everybody in the industry already knows who you guys are. Or should know.
just good. Promote good stuff. Raise the bar, build samples, live your dream. If you want to do the good stuff, start building samples today. Put 5 minutes into it. It adds up.
Perfect advice. Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming on. Really enjoyed it. Excited to launch this one, and hopefully, sometime in the future we can have you back, and maybe bring Peter on as well. I think that could be an interesting interview as well.
He's a much better guy than me.
Is he still sitting beside you?
No, he went back. They're busy working.
That's even better. He's not sitting beside you, and you're still singing his praises.
No, he is awesome. He's my ultimate hero.
Oh, that's great to hear. Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So that's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to give one final shout out to our sponsor, GCI Digital Printing, grand format printer to the trade. GCI is not your average print shop. They pride themselves on providing you a fast, stress-free experience when outsourcing. Their no excuses mindset means no matter the job, they'll have it done every time. No other vendor will go to the lengths that GCI does to ensure you're a satisfied customer. To hear more about their approach to business, hop back into the archives to episode 9, where the guys and I interview owner TJ Bedacht about top-tier customer experience. If you're looking for a high-quality trade printer for banners, mesh, coroplast, and more, TJ and his crew will small, GCI does them all. Check them out at printgci.com.
If you liked this episode, make sure you hit subscribe to get all the latest episodes. And check out our website, bettersignshop.com. Get free resources and helpful tools on growing your shop. Thanks for listening.